Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm Jane. My husband Mike is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and living a thrifty, frugal and money saving life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Sunday we share an aspect of our money saving life with you. Let's take a look at what we're going to share with you this Sunday. As you can imagine, we get asked a lot of questions and we do try and answer them in these occasional Q&A videos. Last week was all about our life here in France. For example, why did we move to France? This week, all the questions are something to do with money or how we manage money or what we spend money on. So without further ado, let's take a look and answer some of your questions. Thank you for your question, Colleen. If you're new here, you won't understand what Colleen is talking about. On our property, we had a derelict barn and we have taken time because we couldn't afford to do it all in one go to renovate and rebuild that barn. So to answer your question, Colleen, it now has a new roof. It has wood that's going to be clad across the front of it, which will close in the barn. We will finish that this year. We have two open gable ends on either end of the barn. We do hope to get those closed in this year. We have windows to replace. We won't be replacing them with glass. We will replace them with some kind of polycarbonate. It's going to be for storage, for garden machinery, for wood. It's going to be a workshop space for Mike as well. And as for the timeline part of that, Mike's shrugging his shoulders because that is weather dependent. We could get that all finished this year, or the weather could set in wintry quite soon and we may not get that finished. We aim to get all of the cladding done this year, and if possible to finish off the gable ends. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. That's a really good question, Andrea. Whenever we are purchasing anything, and especially the expensive items, say for example a piece of machinery for the garden, or something substantial for our home. For example, when we bought a wood burning cooker, or when we bought our car, we do a massive amount of research. We save hard for anything that we buy, and we want to make sure that we really do get the very, very best for our budget. I'm trying to think really about the pros and cons and how we go through the thinking process. We are still at the stage with developing our home here and the land here of buying practical first and pretty afterwards. So although it would be lovely to spend a lot more money on the garden, the structure of the place is important first. So we do our research, we want to make sure we're getting our very best value for money. And when it comes down to it, I suppose, the pros and cons, it's always budget, I'm afraid. And anybody who lives on a budget, that is the most important factor. The pros and cons, and how do we weigh them up? Is it going to last? Is it good value for money? Will we use it over and over again? Another really good question from you, Andrea, and thank you for that. When we have an annual budget, we do have some things that we only purchase once a year. We only have the car serviced once a year. We pay our water bill twice a year. We pay our income tax bill once a year. Any of those big purchases that are once a year, We put them into our budget at the beginning of the year and we add on 10 to 15% because we don't always know exactly what it's going to be. We don't know exactly if the property taxes are going to go up and by how much. We do not know exactly how much the refuse collection charges or if it's going to go up. So we used to add on 10%. Our next year's budget is going to be adding on 15% because, oh boy, those prices seem to be going up all the time. We then come up with an entire year's figure for that. We then divide that by 12 and we make a sinking fund for those big budgets. So that's how we go about that. And we've made videos about that and we'll see if we can find it and pop it in a link below of how we look at those annual budgets. Thanks for your question. What a great question, Kirsten. Thank you so much. We're only human and the cost of living at the moment is rising all the time. The cost of food concerns me. The rising costs in everything concerns me. However, we are older and wiser and this is not our first rodeo. We have been here before and we just hang on. We, like a lot of older people, we don't have debt, we don't have a mortgage, we're not worried about making car payments, we're not worried about paying the mortgage. So on the one hand, we don't have worries about those things, but on the other hand, we have a low income and the bills are increasing. So what do we worry about most? I think at the moment, I'm most worried about the cost of food. And I think not just for us, but for everyone, because everybody has got to eat. And every time I go to the supermarket, the prices have gone up again. It's not like they just go up 1 month and you don't see them go up again for 6 months. It's almost every time I go to the supermarket, there are significant price increases. So I may not be worried for me, but I certainly am worried for everybody in my community. Oh, interesting question, Karen. We have not at this stage considered a whole house system. That would be a massive financial undertaking and it might be something that we do long term, but not in the immediacy. What we are concerned about is energy insecurity. And I think at the moment it's a very good investment and affordable investment that we will probably make to buy an energy pack. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically a huge solar powered battery. So we put out solar panels and then we power and store energy in a big energy pack. They're enough money that it would take a rearrangement of our budgets, but it would be so useful. We would use it in the garden as an energy pack for pumping water. Because we're going to have to store water here in readiness for next summer. We would use it around the garden with tools in the garden. Mike would use it in the barn. It would be a way cheaper option to have a power pack in the barn that was solar powered than it would be ever to get energy to the barn. So yeah, we are interested in small investment. And it is something you'll probably see us using next year. Might not be, definitely won't be this year, but it is definitely something we'll be thinking of on a small basis. So an energy power pack with solar panels. Watch this space next year. Good question. Janine, what a brilliant question. Very, very big question. And I could go on for hours about this. Right, let's have a look at the challenges that we had. This was not our first house in France, so we knew how the system worked. We knew full well how to get quotations, we call them in France here a devis, to get work done. We knew what we had to have done, and when those devis came in, they were not a surprise. It's pretty much a standard price here in France to get electricity installed. So there was electricity to the house, there was water to the house. Those were two big challenges that we didn't have. So we just had to have a whole wiring system put into the house and then signed off as legal. We had to have plumbing put all through the house, and we hired a plumber builder to do that. We had all the structural stuff to do inside, and the plumber stroke builder did that with Mike. And again, each step of the way we would get a quotation, a devis of how much that was going to cost, and a facture and a receipt at the end of it as that was done. The challenges of this house was to insulate it. We were not worried about keeping it to be its original self, because to be honest with you, it was a crappy old falling down cottage and nobody wants that. We wanted a house that was going to keep us warm. So when we put the flooring in, under the tiles and under the floor, in the flooring is insulation. The walls were completely tatty. So all of that, I mean, I think you would call it dry lined, but behind that, it's completely insulated. We had to put down floor joists. Under the floor joists, between the floor joists and the ceiling, everything is insulated. Our challenges were to make this house as warm and comfortable as we possibly could. So we weren't worried about having handmade oak windows. Nope. We had completely energy efficient windows put in and doors throughout, so there's no drafts. It's warm. At its coldest, even without any heating at all, this house doesn't drop below 15 degrees centigrade. And when we've had the fires lit the night before, when you come down in the morning, it's a nice, warm and comfortable 18 degrees centigrade. So those were the challenges. Are there unfinished things? Yes. There's bits and pieces of titivating. There's the pretty bits that we haven't done yet. I haven't painted the staircase behind me yet. We haven't built any steps outside the front door or any paving outside the front door. So you literally step onto dirt. So we haven't done that yet. So there's things to do. Yes, there were challenges. Our greatest challenges were making this house fit to live in this century now. Thanks for your question, Lisa. And people might not like my answer to this one, and it's very, very simple. We're adults and we behave like sensible, responsible, intelligent adults. We don't spend money we haven't got. We don't spend money we haven't planned to spend. And we do that every single month. It's about consistency. It's about being sensible and responsible. It's about always putting money aside and saving first and living on what I have budgeted for. I'm sorry if that's not the answer that people want. There's no great big, I don't sit and meditate on it. I don't sit and worry about it. I'm an adult and I just make sure that every single day I do the right thing. And in the same way as I try and eat as healthily as I can and get enough walking done and exercise that I can and keep my house clean and tidy, being on a budget and living frugally is just part of that, isn't it? It's about being a sensible, intelligent adult and doing the right thing every single day. Thank you, Helen and Monica. Your questions had a similarity to them, so I'm going to answer them together. We have a food budget and we have a petrol budget for our car, or diesel for our car, and we have to stick to that. There is no more money. We can't spend any more money than we've got. So when it comes to tweaks to our budget is our budget. There is no more. What we are doing is taking 10% of our food budget each week or each month and putting that into longer term food storage. So food that we can put away to get us through the winter or increased prices. So we still eat breakfast, lunch and dinner. We still drink tea and coffee. We still have the occasional fruit cordial to drink. We still have butter on our toast, but we spread it a bit more thinly maybe. But no, we have not increased our food budget at all. And we just make it work. I'm always looking for the offers. So my shopping list will say meat, and there will be some meat I might buy and some I definitely won't. If chicken is on offer, that's what we eat. If beef or pork is on offer, that is what we can eat. If we couldn't afford any of those, we wouldn't eat them. But we still eat 3 meals a day. We still eat healthily. We still have our coffee in the morning and our tea in the afternoon. We're not deprived in any way. Thanks for your great question. Thank you to everybody who asked us all the questions this week and last week. We'll leave a link below to last week's video in case you missed that, because people really enjoyed those questions and answers. Thank you to everyone who hits the like button. It's really helping us to grow the channel. Thank you to everyone who leaves a comment. We read every single one of them. And thank you to everyone who really kindly lets the adverts roll, because that's how we YouTubers get paid. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.